Hello everyone and welcome back to the Plutonium Show. First episode of the new year. Happy New Year. We made it to 2025. I hope you all had or are still having a great break. I know I certainly did. I had no idea how much I needed it. I feel energized and ready to go. I had 2 weeks off. I say off, but little news for you, I suppose. I actually started training to become a search and rescue helicopter pilot, which is what I want to do with my life once I'm ready to move on from the military and leave it completely behind. So I've been on a helicopter and I have co-piloted and controlled it at one point with the trainer, of course, the instructor. So exciting times. You may have also noticed, obviously, that I am solo. Worry not. This is not a Meghan and Harry separation. My partner and I, Zach, are still very much together. He helped me set up for the episode. But we decided to try out something different for the year, a different format, a solo format, just to see how it performs. You know, I believe the success for a channel is to try out different things and to see what the audience responds to best. So we're going to give it a shot. And I hope you're all ready for the ride for this new year. I know Meghan Markle is. You know, it's funny. I was honestly going to dedicate the majority of this episode to the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case, because a lot of you have actually been messaging me over the break, asking me if I was going to cover it. Absolutely. You all know I'm a lawyer. Defamation is right down my alley. Not that the case is solely defamation, but it is an element, a huge element when it comes to Justin Baldoni's filing. So we're going to talk about that towards the end of the episode. And I certainly intend on covering the case and following it, you know, however long it takes. But Meghan being Meghan, you all know. The new year rolled around and 2025, she did warn us, to be fair, was her year to sparkle. Yeah, apparently that was newsworthy enough to completely take over the headlines in the new year, despite things happening all over the world, including in Meghan's own backyard with a terrorist attack in New Orleans. But no, the world needed to know that a middle-aged mother joined Instagram. Like what? Almost 20 years after Instagram's inception? I just can't. I will give it to her. She did announce this imminent return back in 2022 with that cut interview. Do you remember? Where she said, I'm thinking about rejoining Instagram, thinking it was going to be some kind of a break the internet moment, like, you know, a la Kim Kardashian. But it didn't work. She had a placeholder called Meghan that she just sat on for the last couple of years. She had around over 100K subs, not subs, so I can't talk. It's been a while, okay? It's been a while since I filmed. Followers, that's what they're called on Instagram. And the woman who once described internet users, social media users, as drug addicts back in 2020 when she still had some sort of royal clout, has now joined, or rejoined, I should say, the ranks of us users. So welcome, Meghan. Once again, 20 years too late, but it's okay. You know, welcome. We're an open-minded bunch. And speaking of New Orleans, it's funny how she completely didn't even put a story acknowledging the travesty, anything really. Because Meghan Markle, humanitarian that she is only interested if there are cameras around. You'll remember the Uvalde tragedy a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago now, where she visited the site, the tragedy, practically one of the only people there who weren't part of the media, with her own media brigade. That's when the humanitarian comes out. Just like when she went to Rwanda, just like when she went to that half-assed attempt at India, which she cut short. Cameras have to be there. Otherwise, it don't count. And thin-skinned as ever, one of the first things we all noticed at that post, which was presumably filmed by Prince Harry. I mean, maybe it wasn't, it's not like it was an Oscar-winning, photography attempt. It did look pretty homemade. It is so lazy. That's the thing. It's like you've got this entire team behind you, and this is how you want to reintroduce yourself to social media, with the laziest, most juvenile few-second video on Instagram that was filmed on your phone. And I don't even know what to say. It's one of those things where you're at a loss for words. And she turned off the comments. Of course, according to her mouthpiece, People magazine, it's because of all the bullying that she has went through and, experienced over the last few years, which is, of course, super typical, fed by Meghan to People magazine. Because first of all, Meghan, I'm sorry. I know we have to keep reminding you. I don't know what's wrong with your memory, but you're not the only woman to receive criticism or even bullying, if you want to call it that, on the internet. I can only speak for myself. I'm not trying to insert myself into everything, but I get bullied on the internet every day. My comments aren't limited or turned off. I mean, yes, I don't have the coverage that she does, but let's talk about other celebrities. Everyone gets hate. Just don't read it. It's not nice, especially when it's unwarranted. But you seem to have some really thin skin for someone who loves to pretend she's this strong, independent woman, this force of nature. But back to the video. I just want to say a few things before we move on to the pièce de la résistance, the Netflix show. How amateurish was that? How amateurish was that thing? And I'm sure you've all noticed by now, because it has been doing the rounds, that there were multiple attempts of her writing 2025 on the sand. And she just runs past one of those attempts. And it's just such a, her freakish attention to detail. I mean, it's really freakish how bad her attention to detail is, how much she is lacking in that department. This is your debut back to the internet. This, in your own mind, much awaited moment. And you couldn't even move to a different spot 5 feet away to make sure that your old takes aren't included in the final take. I mentioned before how she called us all users and drug addicts and, et cetera, et cetera. What about the whole social media is evil campaign that she and Harry have been on for the last 6, 7, 8 years? Almost a decade? I mean, they've really ramped it up in the last couple of years with their whole Archwell, Parents Initiative and Safety Online, et cetera, et cetera. But isn't it a tad hypocritical to spend years campaigning against social media, to sit there in the New York Times Deal Book Summit in 2021 and announce that social media and tabloids should come with a warning, like cigarettes, and then you participate in the very thing that you've been campaigning against? Sorry. I guess demonizing social media isn't where the money's at. That's all I can think of, because, that's all that motivates Meghan. And what about the American Riviera Orchard account? Is that dead in the water already? Have we moved on from it? Because it's still hemorrhaging followers, mind you. And it's funny. Do you guys remember how back in last year? Wait, I'm already. Oh boy, it's been a while. Last March, or was it April? I made a video called The Leech, and I talked about how Jake Rosenberg was behind her success for the TIG, and I still believe to this day that he was the man behind the website and all the success. He did design it, and she ripped off his website, The Coveteur. Well, it's funny. It's funny how whenever she wants to launch a new venture that is lifestyle oriented, like the TIG, because that's what she's doing right now, Jake Rosenberg comes out. Apparently he photographed her for this debut, And he made a post on his own Instagram welcoming her back to the world of drug addicts, I suppose, and, users. I guess South Park were right when they called her a
Instagram-loving bitch wife.
Their words, not mine. When Meghan made her second post on Instagram, suddenly it became very clear what the actual intention and purpose behind her resurfacing in the realm of social media is actually about.
Let's make a show.
Let's go. Now, I love cooking shows. I love watching food. I love watching people eat food. And I'm not even much of a cook. I really don't enjoy cooking, but I certainly enjoy eating. And so when I first saw the trailer, I had a keen eye. I was like, oh, what's she making? And look, I'm no cook myself, but the hyper filtered, airbrushed, sickly sweet, painfully inauthentic hair and food thing that she's giving us, it's just not it. I mean, the trailer's been ratioed to oblivion. The comment section on YouTube will tell you everything you need to know about what people think about this attempt of hers. I mean, it's just a trailer. The real thing's not even out till the 15th. And people are we're just seeing through it. I mean, first of all, Meghan, who are you kidding? You don't even eat. I don't know. Tell me, okay? This is a pet peeve of mine. Tell me if you agree or if you share this similar pet peeve. I actually really don't like it when it's unfortunately more of a female problem. When you have these female chefs or hosts of a food show or a cooking show, and they are so painfully thin, and I'm not talking naturally skinny, okay? You can go on and on about that and be like, oh, they're probably naturally skinny. We know Meghan's not. They are so painfully thin, and you just don't buy it. You just know they're not eating the food. They're probably spitting it out into a bucket in between takes, and they're just not eating it. I don't believe it. Sorry. And I think that really impacts whether people enjoy the show or not. Because if you think of someone like Nigella Lawson, for instance, whom I grew up watching, and I loved her. I thought she was a goddess. She's so beautiful and sensual, and her food, and she loves to eat. You can tell. I believe it. There's not much fakery in that department. And the irony of Meghan, who once said on the TIG, I never wanted to be a lady who lunches. I've always wanted to be a woman who works. I don't know why I gave her that accent. It's like a Stewie accent from Family Guy.
Cut my milk!
I can't, sir. It's liquid.
Imbecile! Freeze it, then cut it. And if you question me again, I'll put you on diaper detail. And I promise I won't make it easy for you.
Speaking of feminism, I recall the UN speech. Well, I shouldn't use air quotations. She really did make a speech, okay? The UN speech that she gave, almost 10 years ago now, about feminism, which was plagiarized. Not the entire thing, but the very end of it was very heavily borrowed from a speech made by Eleanor Roosevelt. And it looks like it's a case of once a plagiarist. Is that even a word? Always a plagiarist, because when she talks about elevating the ordinary or whatever it is she says, I'll put in the clip.
I've always loved taking something pretty ordinary and elevating it.
All credit to Reddit for this one, but apparently a cook or a chef that Meghan is actually very, very much aware of, Ina Garten, said pretty much the exact same thing, specifically saying, I love to take something ordinary and make it really special. Which, come on, is pretty much what Meghan said. And if you say, oh, you're nitpicking, people just say that. It's a cook show, yada, yada, yada. There is a lot of plagiarism going on, it seems. in this show. I mean, the list is endless. First of all, people are referencing heavily the beekeeper reference, Meghan, dressed in the garb and tending to the bees, which is something Catherine does in her own home. There is the whole Pamela Anderson. She has a show that references the word with love, or, something to do with love. I'll put it up on the screen. And then there's, of course, the Marchioness of Bath, Emma Thin, who's been hosting a cook show for years at this point, for a decade? And there are some really similar stills that, you see a comparison. And you could say, to be honest, that this is a realm that's very, I don't know if I want to say it's very confined and it's limited, but you can easily have similar accidental similarities, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. But again, you have to consider the context of who we're talking about here. Meghan Markle doesn't have an authentic, original bone in her body. I mean, just look at that trailer. She spent more time, I promise you, on her appearance and her hair and her jewelry and coordinating everything than she did actually making the food, which, based on the trailer, is stuff that is incredibly simple, like finger food to make. No matter how many times Mindy Kaling tries to sell it as,
this is probably one of the most glamorous moments of my life.
They keep talking about authenticity, and I'm looking at Mindy Kaling looking like she's on a red carpet. The hair doesn't even move.
We're not in the pursuit of perfection. Woke us all up. We're in the pursuit of joy.
Pursuit of joy? What, at the expense of everyone else? At the expense of your father? Your family? Your husband's family? Whose joy? Do you only get joy when you trample on everyone else? Don't answer. I think we all know the answer. It's fine. It's rhetorical, Meghan. Calm down. But before that, she precedes that by saying, we're not in the pursuit of perfection. Says the woman with, as I just said, nary a hair out of place. Actually, it is out of place because it's all over the food. It's in the food. Do you know how stomach turning that is for me? To even imagine a long black hair that you pull out of your food is enough to make me want to be sick. If I saw someone with their hair all over the food serving me, I ain't eating. Let me know in the comments if you're with me in this hunger strike. Towards the end of the trailer, the overlay, the writing says that everyone is invited. Really? Just like how everyone was invited to your wedding except for your family? Apart from your mother, of course, because she's your black card, isn't it? Isn't she? She's the key to your race card. But your father, who is now thinking of moving, I think he's going ahead with it, moving to Southeast Asia, halfway across the globe, because he's entirely given up on you. Is he invited? Is your niece Ashley invited? Maybe. Are your Ragland half of the family invited? I bet not. Are your British in-laws invited? Not that they'd show up. I didn't think so. So is this woman trolling? I think that's what I really want to know. Is Meghan Markle trolling? Because she is a troll. There is no way in hell anyone can convince me that this woman does not know exactly the irony of what she is doing and the salt that she is rubbing in people's wounds, like her father. Is your sister invited? Or are you going to just sit there with Abigail Spencer, who's using you for clout, and Mindy Kaling, who probably didn't even know you existed before you married Harry? Just questions worth pondering. The thing about Meghan that I have been saying for years, but I've been reminded now from a very recent post on Reddit, is that nothing is actually tone deaf. Hear me out. Everyone's been calling this trailer tone deaf and the show tone deaf, considering the cost of living crisis. We're all going through it. We still are. We're still reeling from the aftershock of the pandemic. And most of us have jobs where we don't have the time or luxury to live out this fantasy life that Meghan Markle is clearly portraying in this show, at least as indicated in the trailer. But here's the thing. Whenever I heard her talk about the TIG, even before she met Harry, when I would go back to old interviews and listen to her talk, she always pretended it was about being relatable and showing people where they can go travel and the restaurants they can eat, the hotels they can stay at, and the clothes they can wear. Sure, if people can afford to stay for free, well, I know the word afford is misplaced here, but if people were members of Soho House and were, wannabe celebrities who could stay for free at Soho House for God knows what services she was offering behind the scenes, because that's where she was staying. She wasn't actually telling people where to stay. She kept staying at Soho House hotels throughout the world. And sure, if people can afford to eat at Michelin restaurants, and sure, if people can afford to dress in, designer clothing and Christian Louboutin shoes and everything else that she was clearly showing off on the TIG, which brings me to my point. Meghan Markle is not tone deaf, people. This isn't something she's unaware of, because that's what tone deafness implies. Meghan Markle lives to inspire envy in other people. And again, shout out to the Reddit post that was posted, I believe today, for making this point and refreshing the point that I've been trying to make or have been making for the last few years, every time the TIG came up. It's a vanity project to show off. And this show is no different. She wants to make people jealous. It's what she lives for. It's not necessarily adoration or worship, which I'm sure she wouldn't mind. But think about it. Meghan doesn't care if people love or hate her. Not really. Because if she cared, she would have disappeared. She would have just taken a break, let people forget about her so she can maybe have a small, even the remotest chance of starting again. Not really a blank slate, but let people forget about her for a while and her misdeeds. But Meghan never goes away. I'm going to reference an article here that is delusional. Absolutely delusional. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Meghan doesn't care if we hate her or criticize her, because she just wants to make us, well, in her head, be jealous and look at all her jewels and look at the hair that's falling into her food and look at her skinny, emaciated body. And I'm not body shaming here. The woman was clearly on something, or is still on Ozempic, or whatever the case is. She's never been able to lose weight in a natural way to this extent. And it's not a coincidence it happened during the whole Ozempic craze. But that's what she lives for. Look at all my jewels. Look at all these diamonds that I don't even care about because I cook with them. I don't care if I get food on them. I don't care if I get chicken juice and salmonella on my rings. I've got plenty to spare. So don't for 1 second mistake her intentional showing off for tone deafness, because nothing this woman does is unintentional. Now, I came across this article online, which you might want to get a sick bucket, because I certainly felt like I needed one when I first read it, and I can't believe I'm going to have to go through it again. It's by Sophia A. Nelson, on a writer for, or contributor rather, for Forbes magazine. There's your first red flag. Forbes, the con artist launchpad, as I like to call it. We've covered Forbes plenty of times on this channel, especially in reference to Elizabeth Holmes, one of the most famous con artists of our time, if not of all time. Meghan Markle offers life lessons in success, resilience, and grace. So you know where this is headed. Get those sick buckets ready. I warned ya. This person who writes the article is a woman of color. She says it. I'm not just pointing it out for no reason. She makes a point of pointing it out. And she's an older woman. She is at least a decade older than Meghan. And I really thought people grew up and wisdom comes with age, but I suppose it's not true for everyone. Now, I don't know if this is a paid piece. I don't know if this is from Meghan Markle's camp. Sure does read like it is, but there are some sycophants out there who still fall for her shiz. Every time I say shiz, I remember Wicked. Well, it's good. It's a good reference. I like Wicked. They fall for her shiz. She obviously talks about how Meghan's been bullied and harassed by everyone under the sun. But Meghan is so resilient. Listen to this. Although I am more than a decade Markle senior, I have learned a lot from her on how to handle your business rivals, personal detractors, and yes, even your downright haters too. Here are 5 life lessons in grace and resilience that I think we can all take to heart from Meghan as we start 2025. All right, people, you're up for some failure? You're up for some infinite, never-ending rock bottoms? Listen up. Number 1, practice the power of the pause. Meghan took a 7-year social media hiatus from Instagram. First of all, no, she didn't. She had Sussex Royal, which she tried to really capitalize on and use. They even announced Megxit on that platform apparently before the Queen even knew. Everyone was blindsided by that announcement. So no, unless you can't do math, she has not been on a 7-year social media hiatus. And she's also been on Instagram. If you look at her current account, it was created in 2022. It was that Meghan account with the flower in the profile picture. So she was on Instagram. Perhaps she wasn't actively posting, but she was most definitely using it. She backed up so she could catch her breath. Excuse me? When did Meghan Markle ever give us enough time to catch our breath, to take a break from her, let alone her catching her own breath? Regain her perspective. I think you need to have perspective in the first place to regain it, but okay, sound off. And get on firm footing with her family and finances. She's trolling us, right? She's trolling. I think she's trolling. She's probably reading out a dot point list that Meghan Markle sent her herself verbatim and just pasted it into her script, into her article. Number 2, I looked at it and oh, God help me. I'm barely back. This is my first day back and I'm already, my patience, it's being tested. Move in secret. Launch in public. Never let people know what you are up to until you are finished with the vision and the planning in secret. Then and only then do you let people see the finished product or watch you celebrate the win. Oh my God. Is that her name? Is her name Sophia? Is Sophia a Martian? Is she living on a different planet? This is the exact opposite of Meghan Markle's tactic. She cannot help but scream from the rooftops about a project that hasn't even started yet. Hello, Dior? A fake story? Dior never even wanted to work with her, and she was putting it out there that she was the next Dior girl, manifesting, as she loves to do. American Riviera Orchard? It's still in trademark limbo. She announced it without having a working website, without having a single product ready to sell. And it's been almost a year since that. You see what I mean? You've got your sick buckets. Are they half full? I don't blame you. Number 3, regain your strength, lean into love and healing. Meghan and Harry left a very toxic environment in the UK. They moved where they had support and great opportunity in the US. And they leaned into one another despite the uproar, attacks, and barbs thrown against them. If by love and healing you mean hate and division, then I agree with you. That is certainly what they've leaned on, because I don't think their Netflix special or Spare or anything they've done, Archetypes, anything, whether a failure or not, has leaned into anything remotely close to love or healing. These two are toxic, and all they do is reopen old wounds. They're emotional cutters. So Sophia, I'm sorry. I think you've been under a rock for a while. Someone needs to go check on her. Do not dim your light. Number 4. Meghan knows full well her power. She also knows that she is a lightning rod for haters and people who want to pit her against Princess Catherine of Wales. I'm sorry. I think she's the one who loves to pit herself against Princess Catherine of Wales. It's not the rest of us doing it. And yet, she does not shrink from telling her truth. Not the truth. Sneaky, Sophia. Building her brand. What brand? What brand? The toxic fake hair and food brand? Okay, we'll see how far that gets her. And gleefully spreading her light around the globe. Princess Diana would be proud. That's it. This is from Meghan Markle. This is a copy-paste job, most likely, from Meghan Markle. I'm sorry, that Princess Diana would be proud line just gave it away. Let me know what you think. And finally, come back bigger than ever. How many comeback? I don't even want to read this paragraph. I'm serious. Look, it's on the screen. How many comebacks? I have lost count. The number of big major comebacks Meghan and Harry have promised us since Megxit. We're getting bored. It's old news. And if this show is going to be her comeback, well then, I mean, it's so funny, actually. It's a good place to end this topic. Talk about full circle, huh? You know, wannabe influencer, wannabe foodie, stealing recipes allegedly from her then boyfriend, whom she allegedly cheated on with Prince Harry. Climb all the way up to royalty. You're standing there on the balcony. You are a duchess. And then you leave it all just to do the exact same thing that you were doing a decade ago. When nobody knew your name, no one cared two hoots about who you were or what type of fancy toast with, how did she pronounce ricotta? Ricotta, that you can slather on camera and pretend that you're elevating the ordinary. I guess she's been elevating the ordinary for a while now. Unless you consider the British royal family, you know, because talk about diminishing what royalty means and that title. You know, titles are meant to elevate you, right? She's made it a joke. So as usual, I think she's got it the other way around or the wrong way around. But you know what? I don't think I'm being really fair, because what crossed my mind now actually is that whole, you know, at least she's not flipping burgers with hot pants and a crop top, is she? I suppose maybe, you know, we're not being fair. She's come a short way from her burger flipping days. The last thing I want to say is to do with the title. With love, Meghan. See, Meghan, I think the thing is, though, there's a little bit of a problem there, because to do anything with love, you're going to have to be capable of feeling it. You know what I'm saying? You catch my drift? So perhaps maybe pick something. I mean, it's a little bit too late now, but pick something next time that has more to do with your brand. It's more in line with who you are. It's more authentic and organic to your being, to your essence. Here are a few tips, a few suggestions. How about with lies, Meghan? Or, this is an obvious one, with hate, Meghan? Or perhaps also try with deceit. That's a little bit dramatic, you know, with deceit, Meghan. I think that'll get some eyeballs. Or maybe with fakery, or with fraud, or with envy. I think we've got ourselves a winner there. With envy, Meghan. Because, you know, it's kind of like a dual meaning. She's an incredibly envious individual, but she lives to inspire envy from us all. All right, very quickly, in what little time I have left, I told you, Meghan just filled up my plate this episode. I came back to a torrent of things to cover. I mean, if this is a taste of 2025, I mean, I guess I'm going to be a pretty busy girl. But Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Now, everyone and their dog's been talking about this case. I'm a little bit late to the party. I have been keeping up with it, but in terms of talking about it on YouTube. So obviously I've been aware of Blake Lively's issues over these past few months, all these interviews that have been resurfacing. I have never even heard her talk before that. I was a child when Gossip Girl was out. I wasn't the target audience, and I never really watched it. So don't know much about her other than being Ryan Reynolds' wife. It's funny. It's kind of like Amber Heard, Meghan Markle. Your claim to fame is being someone else's wife, Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Blake Lively is a powerhouse in her own right. I don't like her, but I don't hate her. She's a non-entity to me, okay? No preconceived notions other than what I saw from all these interviews. I didn't even know Justin Baldoni. Never heard of him. Never seen him before in my life until this debacle. I didn't watch It Ends With Us because it's not my kind of movie. So I'm declaring I have no interest, no bias. There's no leaning more towards one party than the other. And as a lawyer, actually no, to be honest, when you're someone's lawyer, obviously you're working for their side. But as a lawyer who is not involved in this case, I will approach it from as unbiased a position as possible. Now, I've read all 3 court filings. One of them was a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department or something. And then she filed officially in New York. And Justin Baldoni is suing the New York Times as well. So I've read all these court filings, all these lawsuits. And it really, really is a case of he said, she said. I will be making a detailed video kind of like presenting you both sides in a court case, and I'll show you all the evidence that Blake has provided, all the evidence that Justin has provided, and then you can make up your minds as a jury, kind of like, what happened in real life and what happens in courtrooms. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to get it out by this week. But I will say, despite not siding with anyone, Justin Baldoni seems to have more concrete evidence backing up his side, whereas Blake Lively seems to have cherry-picked the evidence, and sometimes there was no evidence at all. It was just allegations, which is fine. No one is saying that a victim has to have, contemporaneous or separate evidence backing up every single thing that happened to them. That's a very unfair burden to place upon anyone. But when the other side has stronger evidence that says otherwise, it starts to become a problem of credibility. What's really concerning, and this is, I think, where my niche comes in, forget the lawyer part. I have been noticing this, I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to call it a regression because that might be too strong of a word, but when Johnny Depp took Amber Heard to court successfully in the US, there was a shift surrounding this believe all women narrative, which is nonsense. You all know, it's not news to you if you've been here for 2 seconds on my channel, that I actively fight against that notion. Why? Why should we believe all women? We should test the evidence and then make up our minds. But what I'm seeing here is deja vu. I've been analyzing the Johnny Depp cases both in the UK and the US since 2020, way before it was popular, way before all the, the madness, I suppose, of 2022 with the US trial. And so I was in the minority of people who, based on the evidence, sided or believed in Johnny's side or Johnny's case. I believed Amber in 2016. I always like to remind people of that, just as I really liked Meghan before the Oprah interview. I'm very open about that. I've been duped. But then when you see the other side and then you still, or if you refuse to even listen to the other side, then we have a problem. And I'm seeing this play out all over again with this Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni issue. There is this New York Times article that Justin is suing over. And it basically just rehashes Blake Lively's allegations. It is a very biased, one-sided account of what happened, referring to Blake's allegations as though they were 100% the truth, fact, as opposed to allegations. And that's, hence Justin Baldoni's lawsuit. But the comments section under that article is what really concerned me. It's as though this one article completely undid all the evolution that we have undergone as a society in terms of, male victims can also exist. of female perpetrators. You all know that's why the channel exists. But also there were people in the comments not just blindly believing Blake and demonizing Justin Baldoni. And I really don't think they even bothered reading the 80 plus page lawsuit that he filed. But I saw people backtracking and regretting not believing Amber Heard. It was like I had woken up in an alternate universe. So you're telling me that because of Blake Lively's allegations, you suddenly now want to believe Amber Heard and you think she actually was a victim of a smear campaign? And she's been wronged? And she's the actual victim? That's just insanity. Go check out the comment section of this article. I kid you not. People are losing their minds over this. And speaking of Amber Heard, of course, she had to insert herself into this whole debacle and made a statement saying social media is the absolute personification of the classic saying, a lie travels halfway around the world before truth can get its boots on. I saw this firsthand and up close. It's as horrifying as it is destructive. Amber, honey, sweetie, people only turned against you when you put yourself on that witness stand, when you testified and lied through your teeth under oath, committing perjury. People turned against you when they finally saw the evidence of Johnny's finger, the tip of his finger being chopped off, the cigarette burn on his cheek, the recordings, the hours upon hours of recordings of abuse that you subjected him to, where you didn't even deny hitting him and decking him when he accused you of doing it. That's what confounds me. Have people already forgotten? Are we all suffering from goldfish syndrome because of TikTok and all this quick consumption of media that we're being subjected to, honestly, by all these platforms? Is that what's going on? Because it really wasn't that long ago when people were like, wow, my eyes have been opened. Of course, men can be victims of female abuse. Do not believe all women. Have these people forgotten that Amber Heard went as far as putting on makeup to fake being bruised to get a restraining order from a court? That's how far she went. Have we all forgotten that? And have we forgotten that the jury who were sequestered during the defamation trial between her and Johnny are the ones who found her liable for defamation? It wasn't the media. It wasn't a trial by media. The jury found her guilty. Not guilty, liable. And I'm seeing us doing the same thing with the whole Blake Lively thing, because what smear campaign? Everything I saw was Blake Lively's own words. Old interviews surfacing. Now, she's made very serious allegations against Justin. I'm not taking away from those. This is what my next video will try to address, give you the evidence and make up your mind as to whether these things happened or not. But the smear campaign allegation, everything I saw was Blake shooting herself in the foot over and over and over and over again with her obvious tone deafness. Go wear your florals, grab your girlfriends, yay, domestic violence, right? And promoting her alcohol products, again, something that's heavily linked with domestic violence. And her hair care product just flopped. I mean, I've seen reviews of people saying it's awful. I don't think Justin Baldoni's people paid them. And if she has the evidence, sure, present it. I'm open. But all I'm trying to say is, don't jump to conclusions just because it's a woman. We need to stop demonizing each other and pitting the sexes against each other. This is, it's base. You know, it really is. It's primal. I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I would like to think we humans are a lot more intelligent than that. And I would like to think we would have learned from recent cases. Do you know, I actually know someone who was falsely accused of the most heinous thing that you can do to a woman. Thankfully, he was found not guilty because she was a liar. these things destroy people's lives. And I really don't think that we should be treating them lightly and seeing them as entertainment for us. You know, it's like a gladiator ring. It's like an arena. Every time these cases happen, I feel as though, not everyone, I'm not trying to paint everyone with the same brush, but you see this whole, it's almost like, yeah, you know, let's pit them against each other. Let's see who wins. As opposed to a pursuit for the truth and fairness and justice, which is what the legal system is supposedly all about. I would know. Spoiler alert. It's more about money and corruption and favoritism than justice and fairness. But we try, right? It's what we hope for. So let me know what you think about the whole Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation, if you know anything about it. If you haven't read Justin Baldoni's side, I urge you to just wait before you form your, make up your mind. This case will probably go to trial. It seems pretty contentious. And so we're probably going to have another variation of a Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation, except Justin is not suing Blake. I want to make that clear. Justin is not suing Blake. That's all I have time for today. I hope you enjoyed this first episode back in 2025. It's a little bit strange not having a co-host to bounce, ideas with. I'm sure I'm going to get used to it. And hope to see you in the next one. And hope you guys had a great break and continue to have one, because I know a lot of you are still on holiday for now. So until next time, take care. See you later. Bye.